Good morning, everyone. I want to take a quick minute just to show you my profile. Now, the reason I did that is because it sets the stage for this video. My medical doctor has told me that I'm obese. She doesn't have a fancy scale, which sets forth my BMI. She goes by my weight only. Once again, take a look. A couple years ago, she actually sent me to a doctor, not just any doctor, but a surgeon. And she said the best treatment available for me in my condition as an obese woman is to have stomach surgery. Tuck that fat right in. And I'm not joking here. This is true. This is an actual true story of what happened to me. Since then, she has sent me to a nutritionist because I refused to see a stomach surgeon. And the nutritionist made things worse. I actually gained weight while under her care. So I sought out the help of a holistic healer, and the holistic healer was onto something, but she didn't have the whole picture. And I think I figured out my own health issues. So we're going to get into that in this video today. Take another look real quick. What do you think, Creamsicle? Do you have any words for our audience today, Jax? Oh, Creamsicle wants to chime in. How about you, Peps? Do you have any pep in your step today? Have you ever been told by a medical professional that you're overweight or you're obese, and you strive your best to eat healthy, exercise, and nothing you do budges that scale, but yet your medical provider, even though she's telling you or he's telling you that you need to lose weight, they don't really offer any advice as to how exactly you're supposed to do that when you've tried everything? I've done prior videos on this, that I've tried every single diet you can imagine: carnivore, OMAD, paleo, and more. When I went to the nutritionist, she told me I ate very healthy, and she couldn't understand why I wasn't losing weight. And she said, just adjust with these little few tweaks and take 4 bites off your dinner plate at night. But then she told me to increase my protein at lunch. And when I did those things, I gained weight. When I sought the advice of a holistic healer recently, she explained things to me differently than my doctor or nutritionist. And what she said sounded very good. And I have videos posted about that as well. But while fasting, I had more arthritic joint pain than I had ever experienced in my life. And I didn't understand what was causing this. Now, when I say I was fasting, her approach to fasting was drink celery, cucumber, and carrot juice every day for 7 days, and also eat of leafy green vegetables. And for many people, they would have seen weight loss. I did, in fact, lose about 8 pounds in total until the fasting stopped, and I went right back to the way I was eating prior to talking with her. And when I did that, the weight started coming on again. Since that happened, I saw a YouTube video about a woman who was snacking on cashews at night, and she ended up with kidney failure. And this person on the little YouTube I was watching, I think it was a medical doctor, they were saying that cashews have something in them. And I didn't catch the word at first. And they said that cashews cause kidney failure, or not necessarily kidney failure, that's kind of extreme, but kidney problems because of this thing in the cashews. And they went on to explain that the person was lacking calcium, and had they done both cashews and calcium, it probably wouldn't have ended so drastically with her kidneys permanently malfunctioning forever in her life. And I thought, wow, I don't really eat cashews, so I didn't think it was a concern of mine at all. I just figured it was something that she was sensitive to, and I didn't worry about it until the next morning. I woke up and I was on my way out the door to my commercial cleaning job. And this woman came on the TV who is a YouTuber, and it looks like she's pretty popular because she has millions and millions of views. I didn't catch who she really is because I just saw a quick glimpse of it, but she was saying how there were certain foods that she learned to avoid altogether, and her health improved dramatically. And this is a young woman, and very healthy looking young woman. So I sat down while I was putting on my shoes to listen for a few minutes, and one of the things that struck me was that same word that the prior documentary was talking about with the cashews came up again when she was talking about black pepper. And she said, my health didn't improve until I did this. And she started talking about how she eliminated black tea and black pepper. And I went, what? Because those are some of my favorite things. I use black pepper in everything I make. I love black tea. I drink it all day long. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world? Because when I went to a doctor years ago trying to get my food allergies under control, one of the things he told me to switch to was black tea from coffee. So I've been drinking black tea, green tea ever since. I never knew there was a problem drinking black tea. So when she said this, I wrote some notes down and I thought, I'm going to investigate this later when I get off of work. And that's exactly what we did. And that's the point of this video. I'm going to share with you my research and what I learned. And I am absolutely stunned, amazed, but I'm also very excited. I think I may have unlocked the key to my weight and health problems that I've been suffering with for the past 6 years. During my research, there were several articles that came up on Google, and doctors, patients alike, all said within 2 weeks of starting this lifestyle diet, especially this one change, helped them achieve relief from arthritis pain, restless sleep, and bloating. A female doctor also was quoted in one of these articles stating, it can be a genuine health miracle, but she was also cautious in stating it may not be a weight loss diet. However, with this lifestyle change, because of the relief it provides from arthritis, pain, restless sleep, and bloating, I believe I will achieve weight loss because I will feel better. I will be able to sleep. I have insomnia now ever since seeing the nutritionist. My arthritis pain has worsened. I always attributed it to my cleaning job. It's in my thumbs. It's in my fingers. I was having some health problems when I was working in corporate America, which I've since quit to deal with the stress of it and to heal my body. I sought the help of a neurologist because I had gone blind in my eye from the stress. That's a whole nother YouTube video I did. I don't really want to get into all that right now. But in addition to seeing him for my blindness, I also had extreme pain in my thumbs, pretty much at the base of the thumb where it meets the wrist. I used to have carpal tunnel, but I went for light therapy at my chiropractor's office, so it took away my carpal tunnel. I don't have carpal tunnel in my wrist because of the light therapy. When I went to the neurologist, he said, you have carpal tunnel. And I explained to him, no, I do not. I went and had light therapy for my carpal tunnel, and I know for a fact I do not have carpal tunnel. He's like, well, you may not have carpal tunnel in your wrists, but it could have settled in your thumbs. And I said, well, I also have a commercial cleaning job, and it's very vigorous. You know, I'm scrubbing toilets, that kind of thing. So what do you suggest? And he said, I'm going to have you go for some specialized testing. So he sent me to this place that does these, I guess, for lack of a better word, I don't know the technical name for it, but it's like electric shocks, and they shock your hands and everything, and it produces a report to tell them if you have carpal tunnel or not. I had all that done. I went back to him for the reading of the results, and he said, you have very mild carpal tunnel. I don't know what your thumb pain is caused by. I said, well, that's not helpful. I mean, I'm coming to you to get help. And mind you, my insurance doesn't cover all of the costs of these medical bills. So when I go to like a nutritionist or a neurologist, it's expensive. It adds up. And I feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my money. They're not improving my health. They're stressing me out more. It's extremely frustrating. I said to him, well, what do I do? I mean, and he's like, it's probably just wear and tear because you're a cleaning person. I said, I clean twice a month though. I don't clean every day. He said, it doesn't matter. You're using those thumb joints and that's probably what's causing it. He offered to give me a cortisone shot and I said, no thanks. He said they're temporary and some people they don't even have an effect on. So I was like, I'm not going to waste my time with that. Digging into this lifestyle diet change I'm about to explain to everybody here, I realized all of my pain in my hands is caused most likely by what I'm going to talk about today. I not only have pain in my thumbs, but the very tips of my finger joints right here, these little joints. A few years back, it started to feel like I had broken glass in my joints. It's so excruciatingly painful. I went to my doctor and explained this, and she said she had no idea what was wrong with me, and she never looked into it. She never took blood work. She never did anything. I ended up going to a medical supply store and explaining to them, this hurts so bad, I can't even put my finger out straight. I had to keep them like this because the crushed glass feeling is unbearable. And they said, oh, we know exactly what you need. And they brought out these little plastic fingertip covers. They just slip right over your fingers. I bought a few of them. They were really super inexpensive, like a few bucks each maybe. And they said, this will definitely help you. Well, I couldn't wear them while I was doing anything. It's not like you can wear them when you're doing dishes or doing laundry or doing cleaning or anything like that. At the time I was working in an office, I was an assistant. I couldn't do it. I couldn't wear them while I was typing. So they were pretty much useless, but I did notice, like if I was sitting down at the end of the day and I just slipped those on my fingers, it relieved the pain temporarily. I've wondered why I have the pain in the first place. Now that I've heard these other YouTube stories and now that I've been doing my own research, I think I found the answer. It's called oxalate overload. It's detrimental specifically to older women, children and adults with autism, and people with kidney issues. Oxalate overload is detrimental to older women because cells weaken with age, and some women suffer with chronic inflammation. I believe that's what I suffer with. I'm over 50. So hearing that alone makes me very in tune with this diet lifestyle. One of the quotes I read in some of the articles I saw on Google today by doctors said, who is this lifestyle for? Is it for everyone? And the answer was, it is required, not just recommended, required for people who run the risk of developing kidney stones. How it starts is kidneys filter the oxalates and excrete them in urine, but some people build them up instead of excreting them. The built-up deposits of calcium oxalate crystallize. Then they can deposit in your joints and cause inflammation, pain, and stiffness. And it's directly caused by high oxalate intake. While normally not concerning for many, many people, specific health conditions can experience adverse effects from oxalates. Now I'm going to read you some benefits of the diet because I have them written out here. So some of the benefits include decreased risk of kidney stones. It can actually help hypothyroid disorder. It helps prevent problems with cystic fibrosis. When I read that, I was stunned. I do not directly have cystic fibrosis. However, I have cystic fibrosis in family members. Not only that, but I have asthma, my uncle has asthma, my grandmother has asthma, my mother has asthma. We all have asthma, and we come from a family with the cystic fibrosis gene, I guess you could say. So that alone alarms me because I had asked about that years ago at my doctor's office, and they didn't think anything, they weren't really adept in cystic fibrosis or any of the knowledge about it, but as we get along in age in this country, I've noticed more and more things come out about cystic fibrosis. And it's interesting to me that this lifestyle helps people with cystic fibrosis. I thought that was very, very interesting. It also is beneficial for those with poor renal excretion. Normally, our bodies prevent toxins from building up, which lead to gut problems. People with autism, children with autism, oftentimes you'll hear that they have a problem called leaky gut syndrome. So what I read is this lifestyle is beneficial for those with poor renal excretion because this lifestyle prevents toxins that build up, which leads to gut problems. Oxalates may present as neurological or behavioral abnormalities. How many of you know somebody or have a family member with autism? How many of you have heard, what are they eating? What are you feeding them? Are you feeding them Cheetos? It's that orange dye. Are you feeding them red dye? Are you feeding them this, that, and other thing? Nobody ever talks about oxalates in a diet for people and children with autism. This is the first I'm hearing of it. I was always told, oh, well, people with ADHD, people with all kinds of other problems shouldn't have the red dyes. I've never ever heard of oxalates before yesterday. What are the risks to this lifestyle diet? You know, is anything bad going to happen from doing this? Well, I did read that there's something called oxalate dumping. If you reduce the intake of oxalates too rapidly, it causes weakness, dizziness, soreness, and irritation, but that is temporary. That won't last forever. That's in the preliminary first few days when your body is adjusting to lower oxalate intakes. I wanted to know, aside from the arthritis in my hands, what else will this lifestyle diet change help me with? Because it is limiting. Almost all vegetables and fruits, it seems, have medium to high oxalates. How is this going to help me? And, you know, aside from arthritis, is it worth it to eliminate whole food groups from my diet to get relief from arthritis? For me, it is, because I suffer so badly. But in addition, I have chronic fatigue. I'm always so tired. And this is a new thing for me. I go to the gym, I work out, I eat healthy, so I thought. Now I'm second guessing everything I eat. But this is what it says specifically about fatigue. Oxalates are toxic inflammatory crystals that damage your body. Pain, muscle aches, fatigue, joint pain, because the joint pain is caused from the crystals depositing into your joints and connective tissue. It also causes rashes. It also causes kidney stones, UTIs, and kidney infections. Systemic effects of this oxalate overload include organ accumulation in the kidneys, and they can't eliminate the excess buildup, and therefore it bleeds out into your blood, tissues, and bones. It causes bone disease, arthritis, because of the crystals that are deposited in your joints. It also can accumulate in your eyes, heart, and organs. It interferes with mineral absorption, specifically calcium and magnesium. It causes chronic fatigue, brain fog, joint pain, and stiffness. How do you counteract this? How do you counteract oxalate overload? They say eat more fish, chicken, leafy greens for vitamin B6. But in addition, know the foods that contain high oxalates that you should avoid. Before I get into the list of foods that are good for you, that have pretty much zero oxalates, I want to address America's favorite food, bacon. I know it's my favorite. Bacon and sausage. Interestingly enough, bacon and sausage alone, because they're in the meat family, they don't have oxalates. However, depending on how they're made, depending on how they're prepared, depending on the seasonings used, they could very well have a high oxalate content. For example, in my research, I found out that sesame seeds, McCormick seasonings, those have high oxalate contents. So if you're eating a sausage and you grill it with some McCormick seasonings, be careful. I learned this years ago because I'm gluten-free, and I found out some of the McCormick seasonings have gluten in them. They have wheat products in them. So therefore, be careful with your bacon and sausage intake. They say to counteract that, eat dairy with them. Eat some cheese with them. Maybe a cheese, egg, bacon omelet, cheese, egg, sausage omelet. Because otherwise, if trying this oxalate diet and you still find that you're suffering with problems, and you look at your diet and see, oh, I've been eating bacon or sausage, that could be the reason. Next, dairy products. Dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt, are low in oxalates. The calcium binds with oxalates and prevents them from being absorbed. So what does that mean? That means plain yogurt is the best, and they do say the high-fat yogurt is better than the no-fat yogurt. When you have the yogurt, if you throw in some strawberries, which aren't low in oxalates, and let me tell you, the list of what is low in oxalates is going to surprise you. Strawberries are not. If you have yogurt with strawberries, the calcium binds with the oxalates and prevents them being absorbed. So they say it is okay to have fruit in your yogurt because you're binding those oxalates and they're not having a chance to get distributed to your joints, your tissues, your bloodstream, and therefore, it's okay. Hey, Jax, you gonna help? I studied this intensely. I compiled a list of zero oxalate foods. This is the first list here. There's going to be several more. Eggs and any of your egg white liquids. Cottage cheese, kefir, sour cream, yogurt, butter, whipped cream, plain coffee creamer, light cream, American cheese, cheddar cheese, mozzarella cheese, ricotta cheese, cream cheese, and cream do not have oxalates. These are zero oxalate foods. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a medical professional. Therefore, I think it's best, if you want to also do this lifestyle, look into this yourself before taking my word for it. This is what I'm going to proceed with in my life, but I want to make sure also that this is the best choice for you if you wish to pursue it. The next food, zero oxalates, is ice cream, specifically vanilla and either regular, non-fat, or light additions. The reason is because most of your dairy products are going to be oxalate free. They contain calcium, and again, it binds with the oxalates in other foods. So if you want to pair fruit with your ice cream, just like I said before with the yogurt, the ice cream cancels out the oxalates. The next foods, coconut milk, vegetable shortening, olive oil, coconut oil, and corn syrup. This last list I just read with the coconut oil and the olive oil, that's very interesting to me because when I went to my nutritionist, she told me to avoid those, that they just pack on pounds. But I have changed my thought process about this, and if I'm going to be doing an oxalate-free diet, I'm going to want those in my daily nutrition. I'm going to want to use the olive oil I'm going to want to use the coconut oil because these are things that are oxalate free. Baking powder, salt, apple butter, maple syrup, honey, and sugar are all oxalate free, which is good news because I'm going to get into meats. Most meats are oxalate free. If most meats are oxalate free, this opens up a world of new cooking ways. Maybe you like honey on your ham. Maybe you like maple syrup with your sausage. There are things you can do, even though you're eliminating oxalated foods. There are foods that you would never think that would be healthy, and these would be healthy for someone who has to live an oxalate-free lifestyle. Now we're getting into some greens. We have alfalfa sprouts, iceberg lettuce, and butter lettuce. To my knowledge, those are oxalate-free. Also, cantaloupe is one of the few fruits I found that is oxalate-free. However, romaine and arugula, those have a small amount of oxalates in them. So they are recommended for a 0 or low oxalate diet. Now, if you look up leafy greens such as kale, Swiss chard, spinach, you'll see those are higher in oxalates. I think kale is recommended more than the others. However, just be mindful of that if you want to try this lifestyle, because I know a lot of people like kale for various side dishes and in smoothies. Almost every meat I researched is oxalate free. You got chicken, pork, which includes ham, beef, including 75 to 85% ground beef, liver, turkey, and venison. For seafood, I hope we can see this list here. We have Alaskan king crab, clams, scallops, cod, specifically Pacific cod, cod liver fish oil, flounder, haddock, halibut, mackerel, oysters, pollock, salmon, sardines, shrimp, swordfish, tuna fish in oil or water, and whiting. And I want to make a note here about the tuna fish. I did read that depending on how you prepare it, if you're making a tuna salad with all the mayonnaise and seasonings, it is no longer oxalate free. They are talking about the pure form right out of the can or a fresh tuna steak. More foods include popsicles, sherbet. It's specifically orange or vanilla. It does say to be careful with the flavors because if you get a fruity one, it may increase the oxalate number of that sherbet. Tapioca pudding, Gatorade, and water. What's going on, Jax? Hey, Jax. Most fruits, vegetables, grains have oxalate content in them. Now, it depends on how high the oxalate levels are that you want to avoid. I'm going to try the 0 oxalate living. That's extreme. For most people, you don't need to go 0 oxalates. You can probably do low oxalate and be fine, or maybe even medium oxalate. There's different levels of oxalates depending on the food groups. However, from what I've researched, it's mostly vegetables, fruits, and grains that have the most moderate to high levels of oxalates. So these last two foods really surprised me. Trix cereal, which is gluten-free, and Cap'n Crunch, which is not gluten-free, have no oxalates. So if you like to eat cereals and you want to cut out some oxalates, Trix and Cap'n Crunch. And I never knew that about Trix, that it was gluten-free. I don't eat cereal, so I didn't really have a reason to know that until now. I have been documenting my health journey here on YouTube, and I'll continue to do that as I try out this oxalate-free diet. And I'll continue to post different things I try eating and my weight loss and how I'm feeling overall to see if it's working. I wouldn't want somebody to try extreme dieting without knowing how it works out for me. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Any final words, Jax?